Hey, gorgeous. Welcome to the Bernadette Jackson Podcast, where we are redefining how the world views women with daddy issues by discussing topics, sharing stories, and gaining insights, all from the perspective of a fatherless daughter. I'm your host, Bernadette, the creator of Her Way Relationship Intensive and your favorite fear investigator. If this is your first time here, here's what I want you to know. The fear of abandonment and rejection is the lens through which fatherless daughters do most things. It informs how they show up in every relationship. Most fatherless daughters are operating in the fear of abandonment cycle, and they don't even know it. Each week, I focus on a topic that highlights how fear shows up in our lives, either through conversations with others or deep dives into the insights that I have. If you'd like to know if you're on the fear of abandonment cycle, go to BernadetteJackson.com/FOA cycle and take my free assessment. Again, that's BernadetteJackson.com/FOA cycle. Hey, so thank you guys for joining us in another episode of the Bernadette Jackson Podcast. Tonight we have with us a really, really great guy. His name is Carlos, and he is an athletic director in Charlotte, North Carolina, who is currently transitioning to South Carolina. In addition to being an athletic director, he is also a husband of 18 years and a father of 3, 2 of which are daughters. During the last 15 years, he has learned the importance of a father's role, particularly in girls' lives. And he is excited to share the lessons that he's learned over the years. Carlos, thank you so much for coming on to the show tonight.
Glad to be here. You know, when you started reading the bio, you said 18. And in my mind, I was thinking you was getting ready to say the father of 8 kids. I was like, no way. Absolutely not.
Could you imagine?
Oh, man. Woo, Lord.
Listen,
rough.
Anyone who has more than 2 or 3 kids, I'm like, God bless you, because that's a superpower right there. It's a superpower to me.
Now, I'm going to tell you what, I probably would have wanted to have more, but my wife told me I was on my own after the 3rd one, so it was a wrap.
Oh, yeah. I think that sounds about right. So I know that you have 2 daughters, 3 children altogether. How long have you been a girl dad?
Jordan was born in 2006. So what's that, been a girl dad about 15 years. And to be honest, you know, every dad or every guy, you know, thinks of when they have a child, you know, they want that boy, right? So when I found out that we picked out names and we kind of did unisex names because, you know, didn't know if it was going to be a boy or girl. So we came up with Chance, we came up with Jordan, you know, a couple other names. But once you have that baby girl, it's nothing like a daddy's girl at all.
I bet. Yeah. And I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I feel like there isn't enough popularity around girls' names that are more unisex, because I wanted to do that as well. Like, I wanted to name my daughter Dylan, and her father was like, no, ma'am, we're not doing that. That's a little bit too much. So we had to like have a middle ground, and we settled on Jalen, and I had to sneak that in there because he didn't know that was unisex as well. But I'm like, you know what? Haha, I got you.
Yeah, I like Dylan. I like it.
Yeah, me too. I was like, Dylan, Brianna, like, that sounds really cool. I'm like, why you can't get with that?
Yeah.
But listen, so how would you say your relationship with your daughters has changed how you view and treat women?
Well, to be honest, I've always treated women the way that I saw my father and my older brother treat women. So, you know, I've never seen my dad like physically or mentally abuse my mom or even, you know, he kind of treated her as an equal. So that made me want to do the same and model that same behavior to my daughter. So, you know, just modeling what I've seen.
And that's good, modeling what you've seen. And you spoke a little bit about the fact that your mom and your dad were always equals. Your father treated her like that.
Yes.
So modeling what you saw, is that how you wanted your daughters to maybe experience their first relationship with a man with you, so that when they're in relationships as well, they can say like, okay, I would like my husband or my significant other to be like my dad was, where he treated my mom like she was an equal, and he treated me like, I had a voice, and even though I was a child, I might have, still been given some autonomy. Like, would you say that that's how you did things?
Absolutely. I even watch sometimes if I'm a human, I'm a dad,
Yeah.
and kids get on your nerves sometimes, and I love them to death, but they can take you to that point. But
Yeah.
I watch how I handle that situation or any situation with my daughter, because I don't want her to get used to a man yelling at her, or and I remember once before I told my wife, we were joking one time, and I think one of my cousins wanted like some candy. It was something very simple from my daughter, and he would pretend as though he was crying if he didn't get it. And I told her, and I told him, and I was like, hey, I don't want that trait to be in my daughter, where, if a guy cries, and that's something small, but you never know how that could matriculate towards them in their life. If he cries, let me give him what he really wants, versus, hey, this is my candy. You can cry all you want. It's too bad, too sad, get over it. So, just kind of I guess, artificially creating those situations for my daughter, so that, she can grow and learn from them as she gets older.
Yeah, I love that, because I feel like there is not enough intentionality with how we raise
Yes.
girls, and I feel like the way in which we raise our daughters really is going to set the tone in a lot of ways. And if we're not thinking about how certain kinds of behaviors could end up being the manipulation that they end up succumbing to all the time, then it's, it's almost a disservice, because it's like, okay, I tried to do the best that I can, but some of these things slip through the cracks, and sometimes it's the simplest thing. So I love that you think about those things, because honestly, like, they really do make all the difference when she gets older and she starts experiencing men, in romantic relationships.
Oh man, my mind, I have to get my mind wrapped around that one. So, but yes, romantic relationships. Okay.
Yeah. I know it's a tough one, trust me, because I'm still trying to wrap my mind around my daughter talking to me about the fact that she would like to start group dating when she's in high school. And I'm like, group dating?
How old is she?
What? She's 13.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, oh, I don't know about that, but I definitely get what you're saying. So how would you describe your relationship with your daughters now?
My youngest, she's 8. So it's definitely a daddy-daughter, early stage type relationship. My oldest daughter, she's 15, and she, again, 100% she knows I'm daddy. Right. So she never crosses that line, but it's almost like we're friends. We're able to, I like hanging out with her. Sometimes if no one will go with me to the grocery stores, she'll come and, we'll hang out. We're kind of alike, where we don't need to plan anything, where my wife, you've got to give her a schedule. She's got to know we're going here, then we're going to do that. With myself and Jordan, we can just leave the house and we may end up anywhere. And it is what it is. And so I like hanging out with her, just having fun and just creating, that relationship where she can come tell dad anything.
I love that. So she's your travel partner. I love that.
Yeah. She's my travel partner.
Yeah, when I was younger, my grandfather used to take me around like that too. And it's why now, like, I really love road trips. He had this brown van that looked like one of those vans in the A-Team, like, that show from back in the day.
Yeah.
And he would put a bed in the back of that van and let us like watch the stars out of the window as he was traveling with us at night. And I'm like, wow. I mean, experiences like that, where you don't know where you're going, but you know you're with, like somebody who's safe, you got that male figure there, nothing is going to happen and you're going to have a good time because you're with them. Like those are the memories that you really hold on to. So I love that.
So we'll go out of town sometimes and I'm an early riser. So we'll wake up and everyone else will be asleep and I'll be like, hey, Jordan, you want to go out? We may walk up the street or we may drive up the street. And like you say, just creating those experiences.
Yeah, definitely. And I promise you, like, those are going to shape how she wants to be treated in relationships and just like what she expects. So I love that. Yeah. Would you say that you had to maybe search yourself for your views and your beliefs or habits when you were thinking about raising your daughters?
I don't know. I wouldn't say that I did. Again, I just think that it came natural, just from, my upbringing. So, I just want to, again, create experiences and memories, just like my parents created for me and my sister and my brother. So, yeah.
Okay. I like that. I think a lot isn't really said about the fact that the way you are brought up can really color how you decide to parent. And sometimes it's, either good or bad. Like, honestly, like it can swing either way. But because you're saying that you had such a great upbringing, you saw the relationship and the dynamic between your parents, like there really wasn't anything for you to change. Is that about right? Like,
well,
follow the example?
Well, there are some things that, again, my parents raised me the best way they could, and we talk about that all the time. But one of the things that I think they did unintentionally that we're trying to do intentionally is remove the mindset of thinking small, right? So when I graduated high school and my wife graduated high school, it was kind of like, what college are you going to? Don't go too far away because we need to be able to get to you. Or, don't, like we've never said we wanted to be an actor or a singer because that's not a field that, just go to college and get a regular job, Right. So if she wants to go to college in California, go for it. So don't want to limit them, don't want to limit their thinking. So that was something that we kind of learned, and I kind of went the other direction in the way that we were raised as kids, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think I do. I definitely think that I get it. So what I'm hearing you saying is that your parents wanted you guys to play it safe, and because you realize that that's not really what you want for your children, you guys are intentional about making sure that they understand that whatever dream they have is going to be supported by you, and so long as they're trying and whatnot, you got their back. Is that what I'm hearing?
Absolutely. Now they may come off the wall and say, I want to be make up something. And I may tell them, yeah, sure. Now we may get in the back room and be like, baby, what are they talking about? What are they doing? So, but we just got to support it and let them filter their way through it and go from there.
I love that. Okay. So then with your daughters and the fact that you were brought up the way you were, you and your sister had the relationship you did with your parents, what is it that you want your daughters to know as a result of their relationship with you?
That I love them unconditionally, and I'm sensitive, so I'll cry in a heartbeat. So
you're fine.
I'm starting to tear up now, but I love them unconditionally.
Yeah.
I always be there for them, and just know, just the sky's the limit for them, regardless of what society, what holes they may try to put on, African-American females. The sky's the limit,
Yeah. I get that. I completely get that. And with that, just with everything that we've been talking about, what piece of advice would you want your daughters to never forget, even if they're not in your presence?
be who you are,
Mm.
be who you are, and don't try to, I guess, fit into society's mold. Just be you and know your value, and you'll be okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Honestly, like that is one of the
Got me crying
messages.
on the podcast. Gosh almighty.
That really is one of the messages that I think a lot of fatherless daughters have not received.
Yeah.
And it's why it's so important for us to be able to experience that father relationship, even if it's not with our biological father, if it's a male mentor or someone who has decided to take you under their wing or whatever it is, a lot of the value that we typically get is going to come from the validation of others as we're growing up.
Yeah.
And so if you don't receive that, then it's really hard for you to kind of, figure it out on your own. It's super hard for you to understand that. So I love that you said that, because honestly, there is nothing more empowering, I think, than a person showing up as their most authentic self.
Yes.
Because when you do that, you're able to really have the kinds of deep connections that we yearn for. Like, as humans, connection is what we really want, regardless of what people say. We were made for it. And if you don't show up authentically, no one can really get to know who you are. And they're learning who you present, your representative, or maybe this persona that you've created. But a lot of times, being your most authentic self, as hard as it is, like that is where you end up finding who your people really are.
Yes.
And it's in those relationships that you kind of you get to have the kind of support that you need and the love that you've always wanted and whatnot. So I really love that. And honestly, like sometimes I just wish that there was like a formula where you can say, okay, all you got to do is this, and this, and this is how you end up showing up as your most authentic self all the time. But truth is, it's not like that.
No.
And it's a decision that you have to make every single day, moment to moment. So I love that. I love that. Before we get back into this week's goodness, I want to invite you to join my private Facebook community, H.E.R Coalition. I make it my business to create safe spaces for fatherless daughters to learn, grow, and heal, and H.E.R Coalition does just that. We go deeper into conversations about the things that we discuss here on the podcast. I teach a new topic weekly, we share stories, and we just support and love each other. It's a space I wish I had growing up when I was clueless about how my fatherlessness affected me and yearning for a deeper connection. But I was just too paralyzed with the fear of rejection. Healing happens in community with like-minded and like-hearted people, and I would love to be in community with you. So join H.E.R Coalition at BernadetteJackson.com/community. The ladies of H.E.R Coalition get to choose the topic of weekly discussions. They get exclusive access to events and first dibs on all that my brand has to offer. So again, join me in H.E.R Coalition at BernadetteJackson.com/community. What advice would you give a young girl who is growing up without her father? What would you say?
Even though you may not have a father in the house, growing up in certain situations, they're always examples, They're always examples. They're always, friends who have, male figures in the house or around. So I would, and that's a tough question, because you don't want them to go searching for a male figure. But I would say that it doesn't always have to come from a male, there's some strong Black women out there as well, that they can kind of model themselves after and I guess get advice from and that type of thing. So I guess my advice would be, you don't always have to get, I guess, information or advice from your stereotypical person. If you know, and that I kind of floundered around that because I don't know what I would give them as far as advice goes, because that's a tough one. But just still just being yourself.
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, it is a tough one. And I feel like it's sensitive, but and it's also a hard question to answer, because not every fatherless daughter has had the same kind of experience. So, like advice sometimes is not going to be one size fits all. So I definitely get that. Now, even with that, like, I mean, as tough as that question is, like, here's another one for you, because I know that usually when we think of fatherless daughters, there's always a negative connotation to it, or women with daddy issues is really what we hear a lot. It's always negative. So what's the first thing that comes to mind when someone says, oh, she has daddy issues? What do you typically think about?
The dad is either not there or not present. Not being able to handle. And now, and again, I'm coming from a position of a teacher / athletic director to a student, right? So in that aspect, when you say that she has daddy issues, she's not used to a male figure, I guess, raising their voice or being direct and stern, that type of issue. But if you're saying that she has daddy issues coming from a relationship piece, right? I take it as, she's used to being the head of the household, not necessarily letting the male, be the head of the household and walk together type of thing. Right. So, I mean, I guess it just depends on what level or we're speaking on as far as daddy issues go.
Yeah, I really love that you said that, because we don't really think about it in terms of the age of the person who we're talking about. And I feel like you really hit on something that's so important. And I just want to amplify it a little bit, because honestly, when you don't have a father in your life, any kind of male energy can be like scary, can be looked at as a threat, can be, looked at as, like some kind of affront to you as a person, when really, like, this is just, what masculinity is. And, because you're not used to that and you've not experienced it in any kind of real way, a lot of it really does, it almost seems like it's an attack. And sometimes it really just isn't. It's just like, okay, this person is just speaking to you sternly, like you said, or direct. And, you don't understand that energy because you're used to maybe beating around the bush, like just, softer tones and whatnot. So I love that you mentioned that, as well as, a woman not understanding, true partnership and relationship, and having to have done everything on her own. And so, like, that level of independence that she has always had to carry is not something that she's able to lay down, so that, her and her partner can now be in this relationship and really think about how they want to move forward healthily, So I love that you said that.
Yeah. And I mean, I experience it a lot. In education. And I've had, after breaking it down to young females, I've had them to say, Ms. Richardson, I've never really dealt with a male figure. So, I apologize, but I did not, I mean, it's just a new experience for me.
Yeah.
And it is the way that I speak with my kids or to my kids versus the way that Jamaica speaks to the kids. It's totally different. Right. And I'm sure it's the same with you and your husband. It's just, both mean the same thing, but I can say, go pick that candy up, and it just sounds a little rougher than my wife saying it. So it's just,
Yeah, I definitely get that 100%. So we are kind of turning the corner now to where we're about to hit the last 5 questions that I like to ask. And I call this segment Bernadette's Quick 5. And so it really just is where I'm asking you some quick questions. You just tell me the first thing that comes to mind. There's no wrong answers. Ready?
Uh-oh. Ready.
Okay. All right. So what has been your favorite Father's Day gift so far?
They don't give fathers good Father's Day gifts. We only get, no, I'm joking. Let me stop. Let me stop.
I'm I'm going to stay mum on that.
My favorite Father's Day gift was a shirt that I got from Jordan when she was probably about 5, and she put like fingerprints or something all over it. You know, I can no longer wear the shirt, but it's still hanging up in my closet.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. I love that. It's so sentimental. Okay. Would you be happy if when Jordan turns 18, she brings home the 20-year-old version of you?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So you have just always been a great guy. There's just been no deviation.
Listen, I mean, of course, all guys come with something, right? And I'll admit, I did come with a little something, but for the most part, I was a good guy.
Okay. I love that. I love that. What is your hope for your daughters?
My hopes is for them to be whatever they want to be, or, you know, to do whatever to live their life to the fullest and just be happy. Okay. I like that. So I know that you said that your daughters are not dating yet, but what warning or maybe conversation would you have with the young man who's taking Jordan out for her first date? Her pawpaws are crazy. You know that her pawpaw, not the daddy, her pawpaws are crazy. So the pawpaws would tell me, listen, you're young, you have a family, don't you do it. I'm an old man, let me handle it. Let me handle it. Wow. Pawpaws are crazy. I love that. Okay. And when your daughters get to be the age where they are going out on their own, they're doing their things, what form of protection would you like them to have so that they stay safe in the streets without you? That's a tough one because I don't believe in guns and, you know, things of that nature. Just being smart, you know, just being smart, being in the, you know, right place at the right time and not in the wrong place at the wrong time. Just being smart, using their intuition to kind of make decisions about how to maneuver. Yeah. Okay. I like that. The last few interviews that I've done where I've asked that question, a lot of the men have said things that were outside of the norm in terms of just like, you know, like their intuition, like, you know, having discernment and stuff like that, and just using like, you know, the lessons that I've taught you. So I really like when I hear answers like that, because the question really doesn't have to go to like, you know, a taser or a gun or, you know, any of that thing. But so I like that. So I just want to thank you, Carlos, for coming on. I really appreciate you giving me your time. And I wanted to give you the opportunity to say one more thing, if you have it, before we end tonight's podcast. I just thank you for, you know, allowing me to be a part of your platform. And, you know, just to anytime we can speak positive and just put positive energy in the world, man, I'm all for it. So I just appreciate you giving me the platform. I'm so happy you came. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.